Greetings, everyone, and my name is Raymond Tyler. I produce and host the show The Light on FM 106.5 WPPM in Philadelphia, as well as 91.7 WLFR in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And actually, I'm beginning to take The Light to more markets. I curate a version of The Light for the Alkalicious Juice Bar, and I'm adding some more businesses to that as well. So I'm happy to be co-hosting with Aileen. I had her on my weekly poetry set. The next one will be Sunday at 8. It's called Our Voice. We do it every Sunday, and it's dedicated to more or less the struggle for being free. So when she asked me to co-host this, I was honored, especially when I realized it was going to be a collection of poets collected from the East Coast to the West Coast. So with all that said, I'm glad to be here. And so let me find now a poem to break the ice. And I guess, Aileen, you want me to keep it to poems about the struggle, or can I read anything that's on my mind right now?
It's totally up to you, Ray.
Okay. All right, let's see. This is called Sexy, and it's from my chapbook, I See Something. I don't know what sexy is in America. I can tell you in a second that black means last hired, first fired. How about that, Venus? And that still goes for a black man named Barack in the White House, right on down to the Barack working grave shift at the chicken shack. I don't know what sexy is in America, but I can tell you sex sells, and they sell it from everywhere, from magazines in your doctor's office to organized religion, right on up to the congressman that pays for sex in the pay toilet flying back home to their home state. I guess sexy in America is kitty beauty pageants with 8-year-old girls dressed like they're being served up special to sex offenders for Thanksgiving. Little blind girls, not even 10, wearing heels built for grown women with X-rated vision and bad makeup and worse hair. And worse by the fact that their mothers have put them on the stroll. And even if you call it a runway, even if you say it empowers girls, even if you give them a crown to wear instead of ultra mini skirt, I know pimps when I see them. And I don't have to be no John the people prostitute game when I see one. Even if I don't know what sexy is in America. I still don't know what sexy is in America, but I know in my mind, sexy is a sister like Betty Shabazz or Coretta Scott King that would love me so much that even if I died, she would still continue to fight for what we both believe in. Now that's sexy. God willing, that sounded like a poem.
So we're waiting for a few more people while we wait for our guests to arrive. I'd like to also share a poem. This is in honor of George Floyd, who was laid to power 2 days ago. We are all here in support of our brothers and sisters because it is high time we all took a knee in protest against racial inequality and violence. Gavel for George. Minneapolis' older twin city was lost that night. Not even the saint of lost things could find it that night. You left your home too. You had nowhere else to go to, save for the city, which went down in flames that night. I had $1 and it was my last one too. What should we have for dinner tonight? What else is there but water and mother, being and life-giving, true thing on this wild night? We can transcribe a scene for 8 minutes, make it matter. Instead, we held our breath for half a minute before we gasped that night. We have mastered the coincidence of wants, taunt, want, and went hungry that night, all day long just wanting to get through the night. This body that is built on the power of water, of grist, of Floyd, this air, this ground, this black matter will rise again tonight. And now I think we are almost ready to officially begin. Let me just welcome our guests. Hi, Indigo, Glenis, Josiah, Luis, Antonio, I see Tongo. So let me just officially begin the program. Welcome to Power to the Poets, Poets of Color for Change. My name is Aileen Cassinetto from San Mateo County. I'm your host with Raymond Tyler. Tonight, we speak truth to power, and we are very honored to have as guests powerhouse poets from the West Coast and the East Coast. With me is my co-host, zooming in all the way from Atlantic City, phenomenal poet, Raymond Tyler, who will say a few words. Ray?
Hello, I am honored to be here in the presence of great poets from the East and West Coast, the West and East Coast. I'm excited to hear so many different perspectives. The last place I remember that was a poetry hub that I ventured to when I was in California was this place called World Stage. I don't know if they're still in operation, but so good to connect with my West Coast people again. And sorry, unfortunately, that it's taken the murder of yet another Black man to bring us together for this solemn occasion. But in the midst of the protest, the rebellion, the uprising, the quest to get people's knees off of our neck, we also need love. And so I'm hopeful that tonight, as well as being about uprising and speaking truth to power, that we find some time and space for love as well.
Thank you, Ray. And now it is my honor and great pleasure to introduce our first reader, the author of Someone's Dead Already and Heaven is All Goodbyes, which won the 2018 California Book Award. Please welcome Tongo Eisen-Martin.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative. All over the United States, there are toddlers in the rock. And I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history or take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewage near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti in the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part. My body brings down to Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets, pray over the 28th hour's next beauty mark, extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration, the waistband before the next protest poster. Hey, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You are witty, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. It's only raining one thing. 9 white cops. And prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill. Neighborhood making a lot of fuss over its demise. A new late for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder. The figment of village. A new news to a new white preacher, all in an abstract painting of a president. It cost slavers some time, didn't it? The tense screeches of military bolts and election Tuesday caused a cold-blooded study in leg irons. Proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses. Their sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque piece plastic and bolt action audiences. The Medgar Evers second is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondled news clippings and primitive Methodists, my arm changes imperialisms. Simple policing versus structural frenzies. Elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums. Artless bleeding in the challenge of watching civilians think of terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads and arrows. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads and the arrows myself to see how much gravy spills out of family crest. Modern fans of war with their t-shirt poems and t-shirt guilt. And me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus, I have no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. I'm off to make a church bell out of a bank window. Kitchens meant more to the masses back in the day, and before that we had no enemy. Somewhere in America, the prison bus is running on time. You're gonna lose your job before a revolution hits. Somewhere I won't be home for breakfast. Everyone out here now knows my name, and I won't be turned against for at least 4 months. The cop in the picket line is a hardworking rookie. The sign in my hands is getting more and more laughs. It says the picket line got cops in it. Now, I can take care of those windows full if you want, but someone else got to go inside your gas tank. It was clear to man that rich people had talked too much this year. Hey, why don't you go ahead and throw down that marble park bench everyone's looking up at? You know, get the Romans out of your mind. That may be a good night's sleep would have changed the last 20 years of my life, playing the instruments like punching a wall. What would you have me do? Replace the population, give brotherhood back to the winter, stop smoking cigarettes with the barely dead. You know, they listen in on the Sabbath. Police called the police on me. There was a white candlestick beneath my detention. I ruined the soup again. Felt the judge as he took off his pilgrim robe behind the white people's door and more. I didn't get lucky. I got what was coming to me, he tossed. Hey, fight me back, the man said, and of course to himself, washing windows with a will to live, tin can on his left shoulder, enjoying the bright, brand new blight with all party goers, both supernatural and supernaturally down to earth. Hey, what is this elevator, traveling side to side? Like 1,000 bitter Polaroid pictures that you actually try to eat all the furniture on this street, nailed to the cement, cheap furniture, but we have commitment. This morning, an essay opens a conversation between enemies. Why? Because you control every grain of processed sugar between here and the poor man's border. Because in the tin can on my left shoulder, I can hear the engines of deindustrialization. You should get in the painting, you know, tell lies more deeply. Hey, this month I'm rooting for the trader, carting cement to my pillow here. We will build them high again. Not talking much. Hey, why don't you climb up the organ pipe to our apartment floor? I'm high again. On everything church, sing along to a courtyard, thanks to a horn player's holy pastimes, just putting a real jacket on, you know, talking about a real 5 years, keep memories like these in the pocket next to the toll receipt. That man lost a wager with the God of good causes. He stood up for himself a little too late, maybe too early. I could still see 20 angles of his jaw, zigzagging through the cold world of deindustrialization. There's an art to it. I would tell my closest friends one day, I talk facing away from the dead. They replaced me with a change in my pocket, a penny that's yet to be invented. They say you have to know how to cut a throat on the way to cutting a throat. After sleeping on a mattress made from 2 garbage bags of clothes, I became content with the small gestures of plantation fires, playing with couch ashes. I realized how weird the universe was. It exists in so many places, so many random things. It interrupts me while I'm trying to dream, like your clay correspondence, Lord. To be transparent, I have 20 books next to a bullet, like an old man giving advice at the beginning of a revolution. I've really done it, Lord. Explored the mumbles of my mind, explored what was naturally there, and I found no brainwashing. I found Africa, Lord. I have a future. It takes place in the diasporic South. I have morning possessions, modern militancy. I mean, windows to the South. I'll walk on a missile for food. I guess you and I want flowers for a few years, Lord. Will I be tied face to face with the country I murdered merged with us, Lord? Old metal versus new metal, old metal versus a pool of meandering imperialist faces, a multiculturalism of sorts. The dead replaced me with a comedian's chest cavity instead of a chest cavity held tight. It takes a violent middleman for me to talk to myself, stories that travel through other people's stories, a song about a song, a hemisphere about a hemisphere, stories that travel through a conquered poet. Hey, my mother remembers Africa, Lord. She killed on behalf of you, Lord. I wore a machete all winter and no one asked me what it meant. I read 1,000 books in front of the world. You know, what I do is fight poems, to sleep with decadent San Francisco prayer circles, watch people play for post-working class associative surfaces, recreations of a governor's desk, ruling class art of utility, playing find a sociopathic bureaucrat, a day some white people scare even easier. TV in a basket next to a ceramic baby, wearing ceramic armor, musket progeny, fantasizing through the art of the poor. Their trendy latches locked before God. Black art hunted down like a dog. Hey, hand over my friends, Lord. Lord, I think I'm gonna die in the war. Unelected white people in my small house, like a blues song with no spiritual effect, a dollhouse, H-bomb, a pony show near dead bodies, apartheid weddings that go right, apartheid white people who give birth to mathematicians, the spiritual continuity of derricks and police stations, a chemical interpretation of a Sunday trip to church, church smells in their pockets, a river mistaken for a talking river, no autobiography outside of small personal victories of violence and drug use made in the image of God's trinkets, what white abolitionists confided in their children about, chemical assurances that they will switch from black artists to white artists, black God to white God, black worker to white worker. I think about you cautiously, Lord. In the same way I think about my childhood. Foxhole Friday nights, most of life is music. A comedian points out a planter's field to a priest. King Sugar Cane, King Cotton, King Revolutionary, the Ballad Central, containing all modes of shallow introduction, introducing an unlisted planter class speaking about fevers and balance sheets and reassuring the masses that we can figure out our fathers later. A priest took my mother, lightning Lord. Stood in front of parishioners, re-raveling fantasies about black art. Priest reading confidently before I broke him and broke his parallel. You know, after the day, I've never been a poet before. A little brother watches his big brother's friends. And leaning rifles on shelter walls. You know, they agree with me and call it literature. It's a simple matter, this revolution thing. To really lie to no one. To keep nothing godlike. To write a poem for God. Thank you.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Tongo. Wow. Thank you. Wow. Our next reader is Josiah Luis Alderete, founding member of San Francisco's outspoken word troupe, the Molotov Mouths. He hosts the Latinx reading series, Speaking Exalatel. Welcome, Josiah Luis Alderete.
Hola. Hola. ¿Qué pasa, familia? How you doing?
What's up?
We good.
Tony, you're all blurry.
What's up? Josiah Luis.
Tony, hola, hola. Hola, mi gente. Okay. ¿Qué somos, mi gente? ¿Qué somos? Pues somos starlight that was forgotten in the glove box of Xochipilli's yellow El Camino. Somos nopal espinas that pricked our tata abuela's sueños of living here in los United States. Somos scared childhood momentos that are tattooed forever on El Cucuy's left arm. ¿Qué somos, mi gente? Somos a conejo-shaped wound that you can see quite clearly when you look up at the night sky at Cuyulhuacui. Somos the torn-out páginas of a history book that no one bothered to read anyway. Somos the memorias of the ofrendas that still have candelas burning on them back in our old neighborhoods. Somos the smell of burnt tortillas. Somos frijoles that have been soaking in a bowl of water since the beginning of this quinto sol. Somos the broken taillights of the .com conquistador's car as he drives over shell mounds on his way to the next century's chingadera. Que somos, mi gente? Somos the taste of nopal syrup and amaranth cakes, the sweet taste of nopal syrup and amaranth cakes, which the colonizers mistook for the taste of human flesh and blood. Que somos, mi gente? Somos a frontera folktale about the time El Diablo came to the pachanga dressed in the skin of a handsome blue-eyed white man with the feet of a chicken. Somos the smell of death, quietly emanating off the papayas in front of the mercados round 16th Street. Somos the first drops of divina sangre that Huitzleopochtli shed in defense of his mama. Somos African sangre surrounded by brown skin. Que somos, mi gente? Somos ancestors who are children. Somos the scars of our own divinities. Somos the severed parts of our own goddesses. Somos gods who leave their own body parts behind to help create time. Somos the wrinkles of our abuelita's skin. Somos the flayed skin of Shepitoltec. Somos wooden prayers set under serpent skirt night skies. Somos Spanish surnames and the last known European address of Doña Malitzin. Somos white words that white America can pronounce. ¿Qué somos, mi gente? Somos our own mispronunciations. Somos our own mistranslations. Somos our own migrations. Somos our own bullet holes. Somos our own milagros. Somos American pesadillas stuffed into a Donaldo Trump piñata. Somos the last box of brown Ben Davis pants buried in the terremoto ruins after the big one finally hit San Francisco. Somos huesos out on la frontera that no one's ever going to find. Somos brown-skinned children put in American cages left to die. ¿Qué somos, mi gente? Somos mariposas de humo that disappear as soon as they flutter across that pinche border. Somos constellations that you can only see if you hold up the sky to a smoking mirror. Somos Spanglish-speaking cempasúchils, watered with agua that comes from ni de aquí, ni de allá. But somehow we keep growing. ¿Qué somos, mi gente? ¿Qué somos?
Oh, beautiful.
Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias, Josiah Luis. Our next reader is Ina Carino, a 2019 Kundiman Fellow and a finalist for the 2019 Jake Adam York Prize. She is also founder of the North Carolina reading series Indigena. Welcome, Ina Carino.
Hey, thanks for having me. So happy to be here. I have some poems, so here we go. I dream in a tongue other than my own. 1 minute I'm Tweety smack and the next I'm banjo twang. Yes, 1 minute I'm angle whip and the next I'm alighting endings with beginnings, mouthing vowels so flat my mongrel self sounds almost real. But I dream in a different dialect, sift my mother's stout syllables, plump honorifics from the language of my colonizers. What is left? Glossy contractions, shiny subjunctive, grammar that belongs to the anthropology of the pale. People who look nothing like me, my lips inflamed form these words, cheeks lined with a hook and barb of prepositions for proper. We, creatures broken, domesticated, blistered while muzzled, my brown body a vessel, torched, suffused with the idioms of my invaders, white bodies with their alien speech who are alarmed at the rolling, smacking, slapping of tongues on crooked teeth, my croon a fire, my throat a chimney, my tongue as white as a flag burning, burning, my tongue is burning, my tongue is burning, is. Terrible bodies. 1. We began in soil, mountain, roughed, soursop, smeared. Candles in the cabinets, matches plastic wrapped for when typhoons bring dank. We feed ourselves luxury, lard, slopping out of tin cans. No room for mimicries, history, its invasions, perverted repetitions, death marches, hill stations, conquistadors. But we watch the sun come up, think it's down in reverse, muse of terrible brown bodies shunted. Still, this wish that the world's full blossoming might unhinge such absurd thievery. 2. To be other is to draw badly drawn maps. Our brown breasts want for thrum, for curve of rid to hum with a revolutionary's love song. 3. Oh, how the milk-stained hush remind them of Dogtown, USA, Los Indios Bravos forced into false homes, replicas, made to eat mutt, be mutt, spit, snarl muzzled, that fascist gag. Remember, marrow nourishes best coaxed from familiar crevice, sweet bone, tender on the tongue, our own canine muscles, bitten inner cheek. In this way, we taste ourselves. 4. Taste mother, taste father, bitter as herbs from a bastard country. Do not bend. Be as Nara heartwood culled for its burl. Be as fissured nib. Ink your terrible body onto paper, that whitest of worlds. This next poem is a contrapuntal, so it can be read different ways, the way it's laid out on the page. It's not that long, so I'll read it 2 ways. It's called I Sing Despite the Tender Stench Outside. Anthems tell me more than my waking life. Dirges for the throbbing of this country, tempo charred by bigotry. Sister flocks darker than. And when only my shadow listens, I lick sand from my lips. My freckles carry this curtain of hair from one hill to another, mimic my mother's warbling. My slow steps still catching up, elbows, brown awls, quaver loping toward homes, jostled kneecaps. Speed, crawling, a necessity. I am scampering a child. What is an anthem but a love song turned inside out, in crisis, in dreams? My inhale stops short. I breathe a dusty concertina. The wrong listeners hear a more capable machine interpret sweat as if it were a film burn, negatives lit up on screens. A farewell wheeze, not an option. Money feigns will ring a ratty flag. The old guard will make music bitter taught. Elegies fail, even crumbs nourish. Anthems tell me more than the throbbing of this country, and when only my shadow listens, I carry this curtain of hair warbling. My slow steps quaver loping, speed, crawling, a child. Turned inside out, my inhale stops short, a more capable machine lit up on screens. Money feigns, will ring music bitter taught. My waking life, tempo charred by bigotry, licks sand from my lips. From one hill to another, still catching up toward homes, a necessity. What is an anthem in crisis? I breathe a dusty concertina, interpret sweat as if it were a farewell wheeze, a ratty flag. Elegies fail. Dirges for sister flocks darker than. My freckles mimic my mother's elbows, brown awls, jostled kneecaps. I am scampering, but a love song in dreams. The wrong listeners hear a film burn, negatives not an option. The old guard will make even crumbs nourish. I have one last poem for y'all. Thanks for listening. This is called Rice. Unhatched songs, quiet, perfumed white, dirt-born pips cooking on the stovetop. I listen in half-light, breathe still, tilt my ear as memories of Lola float up with the milk scent. Over her shallow basket, she'd clean the rice, pick tan shell from ivory kernel, say, in America, with a husk like that, you could scuff at the lightest skin, the palest fear. Daily she fed me sweet muck of thick soy, gingered meat, hot mounds of rice. I still wonder how a grain too small for a wish holds the task of feeding in its shell. I left Lola on her cement step, her chipped plates, those women stooped and bronzing in patties. And I try not to confuse the smell of soggy hulls with the damp musk of an American dream. Still, I wait for the water to bubble in the pot, and soon, in this half-light, they'll bud up soft, be what they'll be. And when it's time to grow up into this white, white world, give me a brown husk like that. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Ina. Thank you so much. Our next reader is renowned Philadelphia artist and faculty member at the Fleischer Art Memorial, Bernard Collins. Bernard is a spoken word poet whose humorous style harkens back to the toasting traditions of African American culture, seen in poems like The Signifying Monkey or Shine. Welcome, Bernard.
There you go. Hello, hello. Everything is just has been amazing so far. So many thoughts, so many thoughts. Well, starting at the beginning. America, the troubled nation, elected as demons, now is hell on earth. Dorito Mussolini, packed full of fascist flavor, political kleptomania, racists running amok, Ku Klux Klan shenanigans, had all the bigots starstruck. Now the country's out of luck. For the next couple years, racist fears open the door for greed, fuel bad ideas. Vladimir smiles at the piles he's going to acquire as his investments earn billions and President Pawn does whatever the KGB desires. The president of ExxonMobil was our Secretary of State. Oil companies deciding the country's fate. Look around, we still ain't great. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'll start with this. This is so strange, man. This poem was for Eric Gardner, right? So this piece for Eric Gardner. And this was, I recorded this shortly, and then the next thing you know, identical situation. Here we go, talking about George Floyd. It's crazy, man. Change, things got to change. Though you weren't there for my last breath, you were there for my first. When I had my first cry, before the tears from my eye, it was your milk that quenched my thirst. Mother, I'm flying now, wings gliding on the winds of love. I can breathe deeply, all I want to now, floating like the clouds above. The pressures of the world are off me now. For the first time, I'm truly free. Mother, I just want to thank you now for all the love you really gave to me. Now, I don't claim that I've been perfect, based on mistakes along the way. Sadly, I had to experience the injustice of that day. I know that you truly miss me and was sad to see me go. Just know that your son's in the arms of the Lord, the greatest love that a man could know. Mother, I'm flying now, wings gliding on the wings of love. I can breathe deeply, all I want to now, floating like the clouds above. The pressures of the world are off me now. For the first time, I'm truly free. Mother, I just want to thank you now for the love you freely gave to me. George Floyd's death, the atrocity that it was, started as a trickle of sympathy, then turned into full-out flood. 8 minutes, some odd seconds, that's all it took. How you gonna have your day in court when you're executed before you even get booked? NASCAR says Confederate flags are officially banned, whether or not fans understand. They're taking down slave owners' statues in foreign lands. Conspiracy theorists say the whole thing was planned. 8 minutes and some odd seconds is all it took to take away a father, a brother, an uncle, a co-worker, an athlete, a human, a friend, to ensure that his children would never even see him again. Mother, I'm flying now, wings gliding on the winds of love. I can breathe deeply, all I want to now, floating like the clouds above. The pressures of the world are off me now. For the first time, I'm truly free. Mother, I just want to thank you now for the love you freely gave to me. And now, this country's snatching babies at the border. and calling it old-time religion. Politicians trying to redefine Christian. Babies like parakeets in a gilded cage, sitting, keeping the toddlers and the baby girls hidden, maybe making up phrases like tender age to suppress the rage of those who listen. Impractical, highly expensive pop-up prisons getting erected in unsuspecting impoverished areas, whether you voted for it or you didn't. No bid contracts granted to jail for profit jerks who salivate at the president's speeches of hate. Milkmaids perched beneath the teats of the cash cow, buckets in hand. They could give a damn about an immigrant family's fate. Elections have consequences. Swing low, sweet chariots. Way to go, swing states. The Electoral College made a corrupt and compromised president out of a scandalous and racist presidential candidate. Mandarin Orange Manchurian candidate. Facebook claimed to be changing things. A little bit too little and a little bit too late. A little bit too little and a little bit too late. So I want to thank you all for having me here and allowing me to express myself in creating this venue, family. I got another piece. I'm going to try and flow through it. The sound of thunder could be heard from 2,000 miles away, and everybody dropped to their knees to pray. Millionaires got scared, 'cause he might take their gold away. Mammon was the only thing they would obey. Hatred and greed made wild weeds steal sun from the seed, so they never had a chance to grow deep roots in the earth to prepare for their own seed's birth. The world keep revolving around the sun in the milky, and the chemicals make nappy hair soft and silky. Spent 10 years in jail for them to find you're not guilty. Cops, Bull Joes, and folks like Move 9 up in Philly. Billion children in another country, so they execute little girls, baby. It's not me, it's the world. Sloppy bank robberies, land criminals in prison, baby born children from narcotic addiction. Preacher bought a jet for revivals in Jamaica. Gangbangers go visit overtime worker undertakers. Clinton shot sperm on an intern in the Oval Office, showed come stained dressed to the press to make a profit. Poverty filled the cities like milk filled pregnant titties. Panhandlers on the train, bait for change of one pity. Child boarders going to school, abuse, because some kid called him a sissy. A father rapes his daughter and orders her not to tell. Every secret gets exposed when her belly starts to swell. The building jail cells and prisons while the public schools suffer. Take a look, the textbook is older than a motherfucker. And the teenage mom smacks the child in the face. Another one replaced a newborn in the trash, young man. So rock to the undercover cop. They toss him in the back of the paddy wagon and laugh. Child plays outside without supervision. Mom shot when he turned up missing. The milk carton reads, have you seen this little girl? It's not just me, it's the world. An NBA player makes enough to buy a city. School teachers strike because their wages ain't pretty. Pit bulls fight late night like it ain't no thing. Boxers in the ring do the same for Don King, and arsonists burn down memory lane. Kids dropping out of school so they can sell cocaine. Sold a gram to a man who drove to the Amtrak train, and when the train crashed, he couldn't explain. They offer Rogaine for the ball, Viagra for the balls, 1-800 me so horny for lonely perverts to call. FCC regulate how and when you masturbate. Video shows how to properly exploit the jailbait. If it were up to the United States, we would all be cellmates. And as we ponder our grim fate, the bourgeois celebrate. It's enough to make you scream out loud and your pubic hair uncurl. But it's not me, it's the world. It's the world. Peace and love, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bernard. Up next is Melinda Luisa de Jesus, Associate Professor of Diversity Studies. She writes and teaches about race, ethnicity in the United States. She is the author of numerous books of poetry and feminist critical theory, and is also a mezzo-soprano. Welcome, Melinda.
Wow.
Hey, Aileen. Thanks for having me. Shout out to all you Pennsylvanians. because I was born and raised in Bethlehem. And the first poem I'm going to read is about being a Peni that was from a steel town. It's called Polvo, and it's for my siblings. 1. It's hard to own certain things, our fucked up childhoods in America, how we tried to blend in when we stuck out, easy targets amid a sea of white faces. 2. The bedroom door's locked as you pat baby powder on your faces to lighten your skin. The shame palpable, don't tell mom. The fear obvious in this ridiculous, desperate act. Weeping, I leave you to it. 3. Lessons from a steel town childhood. Go back where you came from, monkey. Don't your people eat dog? Turn the other cheek, little brown brother. Me love you long time. 4. I left decades ago to survive, worked damn hard to claim with love my brown skin, my history. My unashamed, unapologetic Peni-ness triggers you. Old wounds reopen, powder won't heal. It's not my problem to fix. Your colonization belongs to you alone. The second poem I'm going to read, I actually made into a mirror sculpture. This one is called Brainwash. Imperialist washing machine loaded with Filipinos. Set to white. Watch us spin. Add extra bleach. Cycle now complete. Okay, I think I'm going to end with one I can sing. I want to thank Aileen for putting this together. I'm really happy to be reading with you guys. I want to read a poem that I wrote way back in May of 2018. It's called Pantoum for the Movement for Black Lives. And as I was looking over this poem today, I was thinking this poem can be pages and pages long. And it sickens me to think how many names I can add to this poem from 2018. I'll just leave it there. Pantoum for the Movement for Black Lives. America, where are Black folks allowed to be? Why are you calling the police? 2 Black men wait for a friend at Starbucks. He just wanted Skittles and iced tea. Why are you calling the police? Holding his phone in his grandma's backyard. He just wanted Skittles and iced tea. She forgot to signal a lane change. Holding his phone in his grandma's backyard. 2 Black men wait for a friend at Starbucks. She forgot to signal a lane change. America, where and when can Black folks live free? That's for Dante Robinson and Rashawn Nelson, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland, and Trayvon Martin, all killed through America's racial terror. Ashe.
Ashe.
Hey.
Ashe, ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe, thank you, Linda.
Do I have time to sing one more, Aileen?
Yes, yes, please.
All right. I rewrote some patriotic songs. This one's to the tune of America the Beautiful. Oh, terrible polluted skies and GMO-tainted rain. The mountains strip mine majesty above the barren plain. Trumplandia, Trumplandia, the founders weep for thee. And curse thy greed, thy misogynistic racist need. and pray the checks and balances prevail. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Melinda. Our next reader is Cole Larry Eubanks, who has been an ice cream man on the Atlantic City beach for 24 years. He has also participated in the United Nations Poetry for Peace project in 2011. Welcome, Larry.
Aileen, thanks so much for having me. I'm not only am I humbled to be here with such a distinguished group, but in these days of quarantine and sheltering in place, I'm excited to see this many people, period. This is most people I've been with, virtual or otherwise, in 3 months. So I'm very happy. First poem, Like a Ball of Yarn. In the end, my father, always a rock of God, crumbled under the weight of the conspiracy of cancer and chemotherapy which took turns murdering him. With thoughts of bacon and coffee trumping restless sleep, I drifted down to the ambush of his presence, seated at the kitchen table. This was his second visit since death. Then he spoke. I feel your discomfort because I do not own a face. In my time, I've had millions. In the end, which was real? Was it the frozen mask of fright suffering in the hospital? Or the stunned expression I wore at 7 when the cottonmouth bit me in the cotton field? How about the one containing trembling lips asking for your mother's hand? I think she had her regrets. Maybe the fractured face with eyes that saw crying soldiers at my door offering a folded flag instead of a father. Toddler, teenager, middle age, old age, I wore them all. Each moment shaded in the calculus of emotions on facades constructed with feelings like deep river currents under ice. Every face kaleidoscopic with tiles of fear labeled trepidation, intimidation, humiliation, and worst of all, separation. Now I'm home where faces do not exist. In fact, they never did. They are fluid, changing with every thought. Buddhists say we have 50,000 thoughts a day, hence 50,000 faces times 365 multiplied by your present age. What people desire are photographic evidence of illusions, UFOs, unidentified facial occurrences. But what you really want to know, son, is about those last 6 months when I chased Reverend Johnson and the church folk away. I was dying, but told you to tell them I wasn't in. In a way, I wasn't. For days, I pressed my face into its steeple of hands. You thought I was praying, but God had abandoned me and I was searching in his last known address. When I opened my eyes, all I saw were fingers, interlocked, making little triangles. As it grew darker, my lifelines erased, palms turned into mirrors, and I was all alone. That's when I unraveled. Thelonious Monk. Thelonious, 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 the loneliest, the loneliest. Thelonious Monk was the loneliest monk in the world. There are many types of monks: Franciscan, Dominican, Benedictine, Buddhist. Thelonious was the only monk of jazz. His music contains such genius and irony, some people accused him of not knowing how to play at all. People heard an alien language and mistook it for noise. Thelonious Monk's monastery was Minton's Playhouse in Harlem on 118th, where he was house pianist when bebop was born, was called its high priest by Bird and Dizzy. Sometimes when Monk played, he would rise from his stool, a marionette, head tilted up like he was looking at shooting stars, dancing in soft circles, always counterclockwise, in his mind erasing what he had just performed so he could return with something better. For years, Thelonious taped a picture of Billy on the quiet ceiling of his bedroom because he knew she had never had a holiday. He wanted waking eyes to open to an angel of jazz. She was only 44 when she died. 22 years later, suffering from bipolarity, Monk would rise, get dressed in suit and tie, and lie in bed staring at a blank ceiling, wondering what Billy was doing now. He would lie there alone most of the day because he was the loneliest monk in the world. I have one more short one. Clenched. My father had a clenched face, more dangerous than the straight right hand of a pugilist. At least a boxer's fists are gloved with a doctor and referee nearby. In the ring of our house, there was no protection from the fright of his face, coming in from work or down for breakfast. Never the promise of a smile or game of catch. The forecast always called for pain. My father's loaded face was the shotgun we kept in the house. Although a reflection of a heart-holding historical hurt, I still took it personally. Freud was not covered in fourth grade curriculum. His face made me flinch. He never liked flowers, walked right past the first rose of summer. Perhaps he was jealous of its vulnerable ability to open. Just relaxing 4 chambers would have also caused his face to bloom. He suffered from the worst kind of heart failure. It is true he hit me with a backhand, an open hand, and a closed hand. The only blows that still sting were delivered by his face. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up one more time for Larry Cole Eubanks from somewhere between Philly and Atlantic City is what Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ambition the Poet Harper, a slam poet and author of the book From the Tongue of a Foster Child, a student from Camden, New Jersey. Give it up for Ambition the Poet.
Thank you. Just want to correct, I'm not a slam poet. I'm just a poet. Just a lovely poet, but I got respect for those that slam. So what we want to talk about today is, I'll speak on behalf of the foster children, over the 400,000 that's currently in our system today. Let me just get set up here. I wanted to talk about also the foster children that's also on our border that's being created as of right now. So what I am and how I brand myself is that I'm just a foster care poet, and I do come from a small town in Jersey called Sicklerville. Maybe some of you know it, maybe some of you don't. So let me get to my pieces. We're gonna do a foster care set, and then I'm gonna get out your way. That's good. This is Revenge of the foster kid. Woo! This is Revenge of the foster kid. I am not a crackhead. I am the son of a crackhead. So how do I find the person that sold to my mom so I could come crack and say, woo? Now how do I find them? I research his birth, I could find them. So me and my people could act like we need to work and go kind of on the block doing 60. Come down the block doing 60. How can he sell to my mom when she looking frail and she about 60? This is the night of my life that I think I'm gonna have to get busy. See, this is the pain of a foster child. So this night, I'm gonna get busy. See, he is the master. My mom is the slave. The cotton's the drug, and this is the way these people get paid, okay? See, the whip is the stress. Overdose is the noose. And rehab is Harriet Tubman trying to help all slaves loose. So what do? When I find the person that's helping my mom commit suicide, and I know it for certain. This is Revenge of the foster kid. This is the poetry version. I do this for all the foster kids, and I know they still hurting. See, my soul is on fire. I feel like a napalm. I was so crusty. I was so dirty. There was no soap and no Avon. My adoption papers said that I was eating the crayons. My adoption papers said that I was eating the crayons. So I tie him up. I take him down to the basement. This is for all of my pain and all of my tears that fell on the pavement. What happened to him, I leave that to your imagination. You know, when I was a foster child, they used to put me in therapy, and the doctor would constantly ask me, how do I feel? I hated foster care. It felt like an Airbnb app for the poverty kids, except for you can't give 5 stars to abusive parents. You can't give tips to a roach-infested house. And I hated my used clothes. You could still smell the 6 people that wore it before you. Now, it's something about hand-me-downs. You can still feel the disappointed souls that cried on the collar. I hated my sneakers. They always had that grandma cane, and I always wondered why Foot Locker didn't accept Medicaid. Y'all now listening to the stories of a foster child. Ask me how I feel about my mother, but how am I supposed to feel about a woman that left me to die? Do it look like I'm that crumpled up birth certificate you're trying to find when you finally trying to get your passport? You are now listening to the stories of a foster child. They asked me how I felt about my siblings. Well, my brother told me he had to drink out of the back of a toilet. But what black boy in America should try to quench his thirst? The same place where he emptied his guts. And that's yuck. I think we should shut this session down. We started to touch on the monster that's been snoozing since my childhood, waking them up with 3 shots of espresso, letting them waking them up with 3 shots of espresso, letting them snort a couple of lines of pre-workout powder. And my mom, she always said there was a little boy inside of me playing with matches near his forehead. He think that's the only way he could get rid of his memories, by setting his skull on fire. You are now listening to the stories of a foster child. I will talk to my therapist when I was in foster care, and they discovered that I would write these stories that were disturbing. I did my best to write these stories in a series I have on YouTube called Revenge of the Foster Child. Let me just give you some of the things that I used to write. My thoughts are gridlocked on the decision plane when the axis of evil pierced my heavenly strobes. You know, my mom asked me, where did I get the gun? I told her that I borrowed it. But when I had the gun, my hands were so shaky, my nerve endings hula hooped around my bones. My mom said, I need to be peaceful. But why do you raise me like vengeance didn't have a place, but it always had a seat in my attic where the resentment drawers are collecting dust? Mom, I couldn't let him live for what he has done to my family. My kindness dates deterioration, and that's when grudges will kill you slow, like the ignored asbestos that seeps in the bricks of an underfunded institution. So when I had his soul in arm's length, God didn't chisel my advantage, and I could feel the devil's smirk getting larger, larger, and larger. See, these are the foster kids who feel like me, Mom. Silencers just don't go on weapons, but also on a man's lips who are feeling they're trapped with a deadbolt that's on perceived weaknesses. Hey, Mom, how many other foster kids in the world want this exact revenge? I left his body where the rats take over their families. Even furry creatures do a better job than the scum that I just deleted. How many views do a drug dealer gets with blood money? When do foster care parents' blood cells? What about the foster kids' parents' blood cells that sprinkled on Benjamin's eyebrows? When will justice come for us? My anger, I'm not using as a crutch, but I do this for the foster kids, Mom. I'll talk to you later. I'm about to hang up. Thank you.
Okay, that's your set.
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up one more time for Ambition. The poet was not, I repeat, not a slam.
It's the regular poet.
It's regular.
It's the regular poet.
It's a regular poet. All right. Next up, born and raised in San Francisco, California, Thea Matthews is a poet, scholar, and activist. She writes on the complexities of humanity, grief, and resiliency, easy for me to say. She earned her BA at UC Berkeley, a great school, where she studied and taught June Jordan's program, Poetry for the People. Her first collection of poetry, Unearthed, in parentheses, The Flowers, is published by Red Lit Press. And please correct me if that's supposed to be Red Light, because I know of a Red Light Press, but this is my first time hearing of Red Lit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thea Matthews. Thanks, Raymond, for the intro. As he mentioned, I have my debut poetry collection coming out, Unearthed, and then in brackets is The Flowers, and Red Light Lit Press, which is a small press founded by a woman, SF local-based press. is publishing this book. And I'm very grateful for Jennifer Lewis and all of the literary arts community. The Red Light Lit is also a curation series that brings together artists together. And anyway, that's enough of me. That's the book, Red Light Lit. All right, poems. Thank you so much, Aileen, for the invitation. I'm very grateful for what I've heard so far. It's deep. Join us, fight with us, be with us now, not against us. Your family calls your name, not your badge number. And to the one with no badge, keep running. To the one with the badge, you guilty of murder, systemic lynching. Whether you pull the trigger, use your weight or not, you killed. You killed. You killed Black life. You took what was not yours and you stole Black life. Away from the sun, from the soil, from the hands of their mothers. You killed as if you were a monster. Strip now your uniform. Resign your number. Do not burn with swine. Join us. Join us. Burn their uniforms, their badges, their batons. Fry the pig flesh. Feed the dogs pork rinds, one after another before death. Watch pigs squeal. Watch them sniff blood. Watch them die in their own pools of blood. From their own knees, on their own necks, from their own bullets, shot by their own hands. Then steal their tanks, their tasers, their guns, blow up their cars, vandalize the vans, shove the bikes and motorcycles in a box truck, and join us. Fight with us. Be with us now, not against us. Your family calls your name, not your badge number. Poem inspired Mary Baraka, Black Art, 21st Century. Last 4 lines is from the poem Black Art, which is in Black Magic, that came out in 1969. Poems ain't shit unless they are the tongue of which we scream, I can't breathe. Or Black youth in flight for another breath bursting windows. Or to the call of a land in need of her people. Streamed live, poems, poems, poems. We want poems that set fire to parking lots of cop cars used to kill Black life. Vans once used to bus the wounded to prison. We want poems that shoot bullets, poems that kill. We want poems like batons beating protesters out on bridges, or Glock 19 poems near the undercover cop's belly, or Glock 22 poems that break glass in an instant. We want poems that say fuck you to a system inherently racist, unjust to all humans. We want poems that infiltrate the mind, wrestle with misapprehension, poems that beat cops into the back streets and take all their arsenal, leaving them for hours face down in their own blood, while several passersby take selfies, chuckle at the sight of cold bacon. And look, infiltrators got bricks in hand, while the truest leader is a trusted servant. Who protects is the one who lives among the people, who does not precipitate endless cries of mothers who lost children to shady bullets, kneecaps, white fists, blue uniforms. We want poems so Black the world sees Black. Let the world be a Black poem, and let all Black people speak this poem silently or loud. Do we see that this hurts? Across the nation, through fires burning the streets. The police no longer have a place here. They prove to be villains walking through the streets. They have no reverence for life. They are guilty of a slow genocide. They as in their badge number. They as in their training. They as in the history, not of the individuals, but of the whole system. The police were the old primary slave catchers. How could we believe that they are to be trusted, serve all communities, regardless if the face changes of the police? With justice comes peace. No justice, no peace. No violent act shall go unnoticed. No more shall we ignore the pain we cause others. No more shall we avoid the suffering we inflict on others with our words and our actions. No more shall we live in hypocrisy, use sexism to combat racism, still uphold an ism marching for freedom. Freedom, the gauze that stops the bleeding of silence in the home to the nation trapped in shackles. Justice, justice, the knowing there are consequences to actions, from the grandfather guilty of child rape to the policeman guilty of murder. Peace, peace, the feeling after dust settles in the wind, after sirens are silenced by distance, and the space between two butterfly wings. This poem is a poem to understand what resides in the lungs of old family grief, what snatches the breath, what steals the life of those finding their way through heartache. This poem is a poem to understand bashing pots and pans to honor the first responders, our frontline medics. This poem is a poem to understand the terror that lives inside bodies, eats away the mind. Racism is a mental illness, the hatred no one is born with. Fear passed through the nipple. This poem is a poem to understand how marches in the streets stop traffic for hours, while a terror lives inside bedrooms of semen-soaked skin, a body ravaged with bruises, while a terror lives in the White House, jacking off behind podiums, gun-shy whitey, guilty for the first time, ready to shout, Black Lives Matter. This poem is a poem to understand the language shared only when two pairs of eyes meet. Nothing else can replicate the phenomenon. Breathe. A call to learn, love, listen, so that if you need to speak, speak. Rather than resist, refine your lungs. Purify the blood circulating the sun. Inhale the scent of my evergreen. Exhale my forgiveness of dead trees, the pollen found only in summer. Feel the continuous chant, the marching in your veins. The army lives within you. Stay safe, everyone. Be well. Much love. Thank you so much.
Much love. Thank you, Mrs. Matthews. Great set. Great set. Wow. Some great lines there, too. Next up, Antonio Lopez, an East Palo Alto native and PhD student in modern thought and literature at Stanford University is coming. His debut collection, Gentrification, won the 2019 Four-Way Books Levi's Prize in Poetry and is set to be published in the fall of 2021. Antonio Lopez.
Thank you so much, Raymond, for that introduction. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Just want to give a shout out to Aileen and all the folks organized for this event. I think so much of this strategy is trying to take away our language and the way we can imagine things. So I'm leaning towards y'all. I'm leaning towards the words of everyone right now. And so I'm grateful for this gathering. I'm going to read for you two poems today. The first one, as Raymond said, I'm from East Palo Alto, which is kind of a lesser known shadow of Palo Alto, unfortunately. It's been rewritten in terms of narratives as sort of the other side of the tracks. And so as someone who was born and raised there, I try very much to honor that and yet speak truth to that. So this first poem is a sestina. And a sestina, as we may or may not know, is basically where you take the 6 words and each word ends the line, and you just keep, almost like a roulette, you keep switching the same end words for 6 stanzas through so you can hear repetition. So that's my first poem. A sestina for when the ship feels cyclical. Opening a pantry of dead moths, Mayra sirens por la casa. ¿Dónde están mis hot Cheetos? Light up shoes beam through bed curtains to hear for his inhale of angels under sheets, the crackles of his teeth. But Ama saves him, yells, Loteria time! Mayra unlifts the crackdown, and the thin boy enjoys his powder. Oh, Raul stepped out the pool hall and told me powder once flooded this block, that every month the sirens would meet him at University Ave and he'd lift a Crown Vic's trunk with 10 stacks. So shoes of black polish and torn soul bags of teeth, 42 bodies in a single year the earth inhaled. Sometimes you think the DA whispered, inhale the fifth, as if holding Dre's jersey or a powder blue jumpsuit. The bat had your prints. Ain't teeth bared at black boys, just Tuesday. The sirens of his grandma praying galley side, and shoes learn with the weight of ankle bracelets to lift. Through the window of your Oxford dorm, you lift your head near the security cam. Slowly inhale the porter's chuckles, Dre's laceless shoes pacing a cell. Chest aches from the powdered faces who cruise to this island. No sirens lured their ships to shores of 24-karat teeth. When Nico swept the glass, it sounded like teeth crushed on the quad. ¿Cuántas veces levantó su escoba? Cleaned the guts of sirens who ruined the school's lab and inhaled the 30 computers we had. Did the powder donut stop practice for telling Dre, leave your shoes? A jogger hands a 20 to el frutero. You count the shoes hunched under heat, the millions of teething fresas cradled by your father, all for her powders down the curb. As she smiles, sweat away. She lifts her wrists to check her pace, how fast she's inhaled the hood. Is this progress? When police sirens are scoffed as urban myth, lore of a gunpowder age, for settlers vow to cultivate this land of shoes strung on telephone wire. And generations later, will la sirena still surface up la sala, frijoles filling the teeth of tablas, the table still chaired by Ama who lifts the cards and names each living thing. La mano, el corazón, the lottery of your inhale. And so as we know, none of our liberations, whether we're talking about Pinoys, we're talking about Latinos, we're talking about Asians, is inextricably bound to Black liberation. And so I just wanted to share that poem to say that, yes, we can talk about George Floyd, absolutely, but this has been happening for decades, centuries. And for those of us who have seen just a sliver of it, we have to bear witness to that. We have to honor that, but not try to perpetuate the trauma. And so I think that's always the dance of a poet, and we're always trying to check on each other on that. So I thank you for listening. The second poem is based on the Sanctuary City ban a couple years ago, where Texas, the governor signed a law and put into action to ban all sanctuary cities, which basically means that law enforcement wouldn't be allowed before the signature to have, the cities would not cooperate with ICE and so forth. And so the governor rejected these sanctuary cities. And so I dedicate this poem for the 85th legislature of the Texas Senate Committee. And this poem is called Auyo, which is howl in Spanish. Auyo. 1. Yo vi las mejores mentes de mi generación destrozadas por remesa, madness, starving, 10-cent, Maruchan, Limon, y Valentina slurping paisas who mow at the hum of frijoles over oil, the caterpillar boots planted on door sills, silk pants hanging over kitchen chairs, the skin of a Costco shirt drying, who hear people in the living room, men in badges beside those in suits, filling a pot-belly tele. They hawk the head suspect, inspect his tattooed skull for the ink to color in bar graphs, headlines, the typeface of legislation, who have long last names to know how long white men have entered our mothers, who ask the hyphen, what hurt do you harbor? Who burnt his hands on a hot skillet, fingers pawing the ends of a puffed up tortilla, the owl instead of I, carving consonants inside a waist-sized cocina, until a pa heard the yelps of my Americanized tongue and bellowed from behind, a ver, manos de chicle. who combed the racks of used ropa outside the ecumenical hunger program. He couldn't help but to grab the expired Safeway loaves glimmering in a sheen of blacked out barcodes, whose first Mexican standoff was his mother staring our breadwinner down, blaring her ex-mariachi lungs to yell, "We don't need this," who visited 2014 University Ave, saw City Hall, Human Services Agency, the county library, the police precinct, all crammed in 3 floors, entire departments living like projects, who stepped onto Stanford's quad for quinceañera photos, the burgers of Calais under siege by the sons of Zapata as Nacho yelled from a disposable Kodak, "Toño, a ver, ponte más en medio," who bought the latest Jenny Rivera album so later that night my moms could perform the exit songs to her marriage, que cantó con un karaoke box shaped like a suitcase, "Yo soy una mujer de carne y hueso," who cannot tell you how he was as husband. I only know him as Papa, who proudly touted his son's 7th grade test scores, the advanced bar graph shaded so as to testify to the Menlo School academic quad, "Mi hijo es smart enough, es good enough," who learned from his waiter father that Mexican origami is the art of napkin folding. Dear Solomon, Metrosol is painful, but have you seen what culture shock does to the ethnic body? Who took a small corkscrew from a wine bottle and said as we washed dishes for their Passover, "Son, it's rude to speak Spanish in front of them." So that before the kosher drink filled their glass, I learned to balance centuries of racial etiquette between the 3 dirty plates shaking on my sleeve. Wrap the bottle in linen. Enter from the right. Pour until the sediment reaches the neck, until white is right. White is right. White to why I gotta recite the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in Palo Alto, hallowed be thy white, thy kingdom white, thy will be white and white as it is in white. Give us this day our daily white and forgive us of our brown feet into Los Angeles y Reynosa y Nogales y cualquier portillo que nos diste. Why do Polynesian girls sing elegies outside a U-Haul fence so that the same freeway that sliced our city's torso, bled out 50 businesses overnight, could see the cardboard epitaphs of our sleigh? Why does my mom's apologize for her English? Why I'd grab her dedos recién pintados and kiss them so that a decade later I'd still taste the sote suds at the Rutgers Writing Center. So I'd smile at my 4th tootie of the day, seeing Ama's hands, pinching my once prickly face across the table and say, "Professor Lopez, my name is Maria Velarde." 3. What spicks of cement and aluminio jamás estudiaron and ate their own dreams? Miedo, fear de no nacer acá, of checkpoints cada 5 de mayo o cuando Canelo y Triple G pelean. Miedo of a Honduran boy que llora as the jet fuel boils his lungs. They'll kill my mom if we send her back. Miedo, miedo, pesadilla de miedo, God of below minimum wage, of yes, Mr. Smith, the hedge is almost finished. Miedo, whose insecticide of choice is raid, the war-clad men who knock on a North Carolina porch, Mrs. Gonzalez, we know you're in there. Miedo, whose eyes are the blue and red light bars cruising on the 101 South, whose hands are the tightened clench of my Theo as his 200-pound frame nears any airport. Miedo, whose 6 children cry for Appa to come back and fill their bowls with Lucky Charms. Miedo de cruzar. My Thea's hair is uncombed as she washes the crumbs of arroz from a princess in the flawed plate. El agua tibia de la pila wrinkles her hands, the thought refusing to dry. Hace 3 días que mi hija me ha llamado. Miedo del día when the holy water runs out, when el padre stops praying for them, cuando para de decir la congregación, ruega por nosotros. Miedo de que sus hijos se metan en la droga, su marido al vicio, que sus hijas se embaracen. Miedo de que el patrón no me va a dar siempre las horas. Miedo de respirar los químicos en el trabajo. Miedo de ir a la tienda. Miedo de llevar a los chiquillos a la escuela. 4. Pastor Lynn Gotzi, president of the Hispanic Evangelical Ministerial Alliance. I am with you in Austin, where you testified, quote, 1 sergeant and 5 officers were sitting outside of our churches. 1 pastor coming out was arrested, taken down and stripped naked. Grandmothers were mistreated, arrested and detained, end quote. Michael Seifert of the Southern Border Communities Coalition. I am with you in Austin, where you testified, quote, even without the application of SB4, we have women who I know personally have suffered domestic violence, who are terrified about calling the police on their partner, end quote. I am with you, Jesus, when you said I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I am with you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you revealed to the prophet, "O ye who believe, stand out firmly for justice." I am with you, little chavita outside of SB protest, wearing a baby blue faldita, y strapped heels, que alza the stars and stripes on her tippy toes so they may be seen from Ellis Island to her abuelos in Michoacán. I am with you, dreamers y manifestantes, alumnos y clergy folk in Austin who nailed the PA system inside the heart of the state insurance building. Your heads bowed in prayer as portraits of white men remain dead to your call. As the deacon cried, what we know while our presence is here, our testimonies are here, our bodies and our souls are here, is that truth crushed to the gravel will rise again. And Governor Abbott, I am even with you, inside your office while shouts pour under your mahogany door, so I can smuggle your white winged tweet inside into this corrido and howl from the 13 Nahuatl heavens. I'm getting my pen warmed up. Stay safe, everyone, and thank you very much.
Woo! That mic is hot. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Antonio Lopez. Goodness gracious. All right, we're going to keep it moving. Venus Jones is an actress, associate professor, and poet who earned her MFA in English and creative writing from Mills College in 2014 and was one of the honored commencement speakers that same year. One of her books was endorsed by the Langston Hughes Family Museum, and her mobile app for Kwanzaa has been downloaded in 80 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Venus Jones.
I'm proud to be an American. I fought in every war, you see. And then I had to come back home and still fight to be free. But I gladly stand up next to the Klan who believes I have no right to be, and say there is no doubt Africans love this land. We built it 3 centuries for free. I'm gonna try to get you 5 poems, and that includes one, in 7 minutes. That piece was called I'm Proud. I will be reading No More, Race, The Ballad of Ferguson, and We Are More Than Poets. Again, my name is Venus Jones. This CD came out in 2007. It is still very relevant today. It's called Politics, and you can find it on Amazon as well as iTunes. But without any further ado, I have a feeling you might feel the same way as I do right now. I wrote this years ago. It's called No More. Whenever you are feeling blue or a little down, remember I too have worn that frown. It's not just you who feels stuck like glue. It's a system, a cycle established in the past. It's set up to keep us dozing, but it won't last. Just start opening your eyes to any sign of crooked compromise, and those covered lies you despise will rise. It's night, and we have all been led by those without sight. Allow me to shed some light. There are only 3 things to do when it's hurting you. Confront the problem. Ignoring the problem is number 2. Number 3 is leaving. That's what I plan to do. I've already exhausted number 1 and 2. It's a complicated situation. When you have a history of blood, sweat, tears, humiliation, and constant frustration. My anger fueled my determination. When I realized my pain was their inspiration. Now I know knowledge of self, and love is the key to unlock this door. And I shall return to the stage of victimization no more. Next piece is called Race. Now this piece is one that I'm hoping, if you are an animator, I could use your help. A good friend of mine who I know is watching, shout out to Tracy. She said that she sees this as an animation. And this is a piece inspired by The Tortoise and the Hare, originally written by Aesop. Some hare shot a gun and yelled, "Race." Then there was pushing and shoving. Some bunny kicked me in a ditch. I had to crawl out on my own. We can get stuck inside black booby traps. Somehow I learned to stick my neck out. Some turtles are back there in shell shock. Look, I blame the bunny for this burden. Yes, I was in that dugout pit for the poor. And I may be slow, but I'm honest. The haughty hare ain't that swift. Trust. He tries to cover us all in dirt. He desires to always be the first to finish. I'm supposed to wave this white flag and die? I'm supposed to surrender while he sleeps? After seeing so many fall in graves, unmarked graves in this competition? No. I'm woke. And slowly but surely, I can. Slowly but surely, I will cross the line. This next piece I wrote is called The Ballad of Ferguson. And I also call it Black and Blue Matters. I could see this as a play. Anybody want to help me make that dream a reality? You know how to find me. Move to the sidewalk is all he asked. Your son was one of Ferguson's fools. What happened to him was his own damn fault. Why can't you blacks follow the rules? Why you cops keep shooting to kill? Unarmed black teens, it's a disgrace. My baby had his hands up. Still he gets 6 rounds and 2 in the face. My son was headed to college in a week. Mike Brown was no dog or rebel. His body was in the street for 4.5 hours. Why you bring our boys down to this level? Wilson could lose his job over this. He did what he had to do. We'll raise $1 million for our officer because Blue Lives Matter too. Let that be the reason I ain't doing too good. You haters make me wanna holler. Imagine someone shot your child to no arrest. He don't deserve $1 damn. Big Mike was my gentle giant. I never saw him fuss or fight. Coach said he was too timid to play football. So you know this ain't right. Do you think this job is easy? Imagine someone charging at you, a petty thief or a drug fiend. Like a demon, his aggression grew. Y'all caused the first murder in town this year. A low crime rate was Ferguson's claim. You know those folks came from afar to loot. And last night, our church goes up in flames. Not one of you have reached out. Just deal with it is the governor's stance. You know why we went to the UN. We're tired of not being given a chance. Look, there's been fires all over this town, all sparked by bitterness and hate. Everything is not about race. As for your church, we'll investigate. Our pastor received over 80 death threats while guarding white businesses last night with you. Our church was 3 miles away, yet nothing else was touched. Really? Tell me what you plan to do. Step back. This protest or demonstration is over. Program 1033 gives us military might. We're required to use our grenade launcher. You and the media clear the area before midnight. How many of us only see one side? Whose stories do we truly hear? Can you smell the bloody massacre? Will we stand for love or fear? This last piece is called We Are More Than Poets. We are more than poets. We are truth tellers in the express lane, the first responders to the problem, to the pain. We are busy building, we work in construction. The first to be called, right after destruction. We carry stories of what was. We carry blueprints of what can be, yet there is no retainer. Most of us, because most of us work for free. We are more than poets. We are practicing saints. We can open you up. We can heal the faint. We know words are symbols, like those left on Egyptian walls. Language is so limiting, yet we are subject to flaws. Tongue-tied tyrants desire to be fluent on the floor, unaware that we had to write to find living water at our core. We are more. We are more than poets. We are working with light. Years it took before we earned our king vision and insight. We have nothing to lose. We have everything to gain. We don't quite fit in a box, so some label us insane. We are more than poets. We don't need a clock. We know now is the time to remove every block. We are more than poets. We know just how it feels when we become empathic. It's goosebumps and chills. We are more than poets. And I'm just here to confess. We are inner peace pushers in this spiritual conquest. The enemy comes to kill, to rob, or to depress. To survive, you ask a poet, a prognosticating poet with an S on their chest. My name is Venus Jones. Thank you so much, Aileen. Thank you so much for inviting me to this historic event. I love you all so much. And so all of those who stand in solidarity, I have some good news. Less than an hour ago, Breonna Taylor got her act. It's called the Breonna Taylor Act. Louisville Metro Council votes to ban no-knock warrants in her honor. And she shares the same birthday with me. So I am here to say her name, Breonna Taylor, and I'm here to stand with every single one of you who care. I don't care what color you are. If you stand for justice, I'm here to help you work with me towards peace.
All right. Shay. Happy belated birthday, sister.
Thank you.
All right. And that is some good news. I remember where I was when I heard about them damn no-knock warrants. And I said, that's not going to be good for anybody. So hopefully that can pass and we can move on and just say, I remember when. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Venus Jones.
It did pass. I want to say it did pass. That's the good news. It did pass.
It passed both houses of Congress.
Oh man, you're gonna make me look that up, but I just saw it passed in Louisville.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's progress.
Well, okay. Well, I don't want to get into I'm just a bill and everything like that, but I know it takes, it can pass the House, but then it has to go to the Senate, and then all of that, and the president can still veto, can still say no. Yes, that's called a veto. I'm like the only old guy who remembers Schoolhouse Rock. All right, so we're going to keep going. Indigo Moor is an educator, scriptwriter, award-winning author, and former poet laureate of Sacramento. Man, them Kings. Laker fan, but I feel for you, bro.
I'll forgive you that.
His full-length play, Live at the Excelsior, I hope I pronounced that right, was the finalist for the Images Theater Playwright Award and has been optioned for a film. Okay? All right? Ladies and gentlemen, give it up to Indigo Moor.
It's a pleasure being here and hearing everyone. This has been wonderful. Aileen, thank you for inviting me to this. Strangely enough, I'm actually in Philadelphia right now. I've been here for a few months, so finally be leaving July 17th, and I haven't gotten a chance to meet anyone. I'm going to read 3 short pieces coming from my next book, Everybody's Jonesing for Something, which is out in March of next year, University of Nebraska Press. Trayvon Martin disappears on stage. The white hat, the boy was on top. Someone says that Trey, whoever he was on top, punching MMA style. His hoodie sheltering a constellation of black stars, black holes and halves. The cotton string tugs a legion of necks stretched to some other quadrant of universe. With a metallic pop stings the air like a jab, the boy's body opens like a door meant only to be closed. There's a mote in both his eyes that no God recognizes. This neighborhood is riddled with blacks, jack hornets, strafing sidewalks like acid raindrops. You can't call it race when one group runs, the other bolted to a crawl, starter pistol crushed against their temple. This is what we know. A large man unwrapped a gun from a wooden box, and the boy is shot. Elsewhere, a farmer leans on a scythe like a rake, recounting the scenes to his wife. He remembers it as a prism, as a snow globe, a black kite plunging, a foxhole, the foxhole where their son died, screaming their name. Back center scene, a police cruiser straddles the reclaimed block like a hen guarding an egg. There's a crowd, a dozen empty-pocketed gazes. There's a Bible, there's a noose, there's a flag. The second poem is What Was True and Not So, and Yet Again. He, let's call him Ralph, wakes up driving a highway. Headlights splatter against a wall of damp fog. Something in his head hugs the road in front of him until he stands on the brakes stupefied. Muling, a dog still told by a cruel master. End story. Prologue. He is a man without a name. Let's call all his love unrequited. Wholesome as a spit shine. Camos, starched and sacred. Think red lipstick on a whore. His mama told him he had a horseshoe for his soul. His handgun, his hand carved into a gun, shakes in a windswept Dixie breeze. His scarred F-150 squats outside a black church, or maybe a gay club, or a rooftop, or somewhere that is lost to him. You can be anyone behind a white cloak of fog, a doctor with a cure for a sick country, a savior, a wide white hat, a martyr. Redemption is sweetened in countless seconds, a bloodletting, an epilogue, God bless. When I think about the riots, I'm an engineer by trade, and I often think of how the internet and social media, they're not always a great thing for our country, but as a whole, it's almost impossible to think that a lot of the things that have happened would have happened without the exposure. If you go back as far as Emmett Till, it was the decision that his mother made at the end that allowed the story to become something that we could actually capture. Mamie Till and the Minotaur. She pounces the Minotaur's crumbling trail. Emmett's well retreats on the moon-drenched tide. Has there ever been light in this drizzled air, hanging like wisteria from stone precipices? Secrets punch the gloaming like shotgun blasts. She turns left, then right, past her son's head, carved on the riverbed like a flimsy excuse. A rusty fan somersaults the Tallahatchie breeze. Every hill croons birthright and privilege, stripped down ancestor questions she never gets to ask. If she could call back her child, this whole damn South might lose weight, fall knee-deep into shame. I can't tell you if this next part is myth or not. She rounds a corner to the Minotaur corralled by its lies. From her pocket, she drags the only thing this beast fears, her son in an open casket. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Indigo Moor. Man, love it, love it, love it. You may even persuade me to root for the Kings one year.
I'm a Celtics fan. Don't bother. Yeah.
A Celtics fan.
Yeah, it's a long story.
Okay, all right. Well, I respect Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and them, but Celtics.
No. Cornbread Maxwell, baby, from North
Cornbread. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, where are we? Okay. We go from the Celtics fan to someone I know is Dr. J fan. Elijah Pringle III, Philadelphia poet, lyrical baritone, composer, actor, and artivist. He's been published globally. He has appeared on radio, TV, and stage. He credits his true education to 5 generations of teachers. Here he is, Larry Bird's not biggest fan, Elijah Pringle.
I have to say, honestly, there are some things about the Celtics that I did like. It's usually found on the column that's after the win column. But anyway, I just want to share 4 pieces, very short pieces. One of them, I just want to explain the term. It's going to be 2 pieces I've done previously and 2 new ones. But the term drapetomania Drapetomania was an illness that caused slaves to run away. So I want to repeat that piece again, if you all don't mind. I'll just start. Light beams and bends at my bed, runs across the covers and scratches my head. The shade is torn by the dawn's early light. Thank God the moon wasn't out late last night. America, America, land of grime. America, America, full of crime. Sweet land of poverty, to thee I sing, to thee I sing. Talking cars full of promises and lies. This idealism will exhaust alibis. Some surviving, but so proudly they hail. Big brother's happy because he thinks he hasn't failed. America, America, a chicken in every pot. America, America, each man makes his lot. Sweet land of hypocrisy, to thee I sing, to thee I sing, to thee I sing. Social distancing or drapetomania for Aileen. Only social distance we've known is justice. 6 feet can be either horizontal or vertical. 6 pies de separado, or 6 feet under. Justice has kept existencia para mí. The end of justice is injustice. It is alive. It is not a virus. It is a bacteria swarming in a petri dish, a culture of white supremacy. It propagates on denial, festers on flawed reasoning and justification, grows exponentially on hatred. This is not a healing or a helpful strain. It is not an aid to digestion. It does not make milk cheese. There is no antibiotic unless we become the cure. But too many eat at the feast, fugi with its toxicity intact. Venom can be found in the liver, in the eyes, in the skin, in the ovaries, and you become insensitive. It is because you are now it. You are the thing in which you have feasted and festered on, and now we are rankled, our faces wrinkled with disbelief, not at what is, but that you are annoyed that we are not gleeful at our oppression. Drapetomania and a 21st century twist. That there is something wrong when we amble through the preamble to create a more perfect union. He is homeless because he failed math. He couldn't figure out how to divide one paycheck into 4 hungry children. He could only add to his mountain bills. He could only subtract opportunities. He should have studied how to multiply options. She is homeless because she failed English. She is a pronoun. It is used instead of a noun. Nouns are places, people, things, or ideas. She has no place. People have abandoned her, and the thing is food, but she has no idea from where. Children are homeless because sons and daughters failed biology, not knowing a zygote from a god, struggling beneath their father's musky armpits. See, he perspires worry about the children slumbering on his shoulders, comforted by the stench knowing that daddy didn't disappear. They are homeless because they failed political science. So hard to trace boundaries and remember political parties when you're not at the festivities. Franklin's New Deal does not have the urgency of the Raw Deal. They have been dealt cards pulled from the bottom of the deck. But homeless is not hopeless. And they have failed political science, biology, English, and math. But has society failed humanity? Deanna knows 2 letters. She couldn't read, but she knew that Grandma Wilhelmina and wisdom began with her favorite letter, W. One U arm in arm with another U, just like her and Grandma walking. 2 U's are far stronger than one. Working together, they do miracles. changing vowels into a consonant. W has powers. W is for whites. She sees W, so she is no longer thirsty. W, and she doesn't even have to go to pee. Another W, and she ain't hardly hungry. It's a superhero letter that takes away the need for water, bathroom, food. She is so smart at only 3 years here. W is no. C is we. C is we. So now she can be herself and she drinks. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Elijah. I've heard you do that last piece several times. The music really adds a dramatic effect. I hope you were playing music and I'm not just going a little.
Soundtrack.
Yeah.
Actually, I do want to say that I do not own the rights to that music. Delphio Marsalis had composed music and for an album of his, and we talked about it, and I told him about this piece and this music combined. And so we haven't finished the collaboration, but yeah, something we're working on. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Give it up one more time for Elijah Pringle III. All right, let's see. Hannah Rod is a poet and editor from Berkeley. And a part of Radar Productions weblog, the assistant creative nonfiction editor at Homology Lit. They are the author of the chapbook Swallow a Beginning, which debuted on tour with Sister Spit 2020. Please show your love for Hannah Rod.
Hey everyone, my name is Dana Rod and I have some new poems to share with you today. This first one is called For Independence Day. We personally knew blunt corners of the beaten island, full with hundreds of heartbroken families, softening edges rounder, ethnic flesh, cash strapped with a micro chance of building their way out of poverty this season. A cage we built, container too small, overflowing with soft pressure, bodies pushing against allowable dimensions, despite our crusading champions, healing squalor statistics, disturbing the deputies of refugee camps. Good stress balanced with edged teeth, and no one asked, how did privilege create you, daring crusader? How did you hear about the opportunities raining down on your head? How did you fully earn your warm, soft access to the flip side, transform into the ideal fighting for justice dog, sunk, sickened, certain your deep deeds challenge poverty, deportation, a permanent change to incarceration, quenching the taste of need? The imprisoned poor. You are not the first dream pioneer, intimately traveling on behalf of unknown lives lacking bail. Land of no man, only everyone crushed in between, touring strongholds of uncertain defense. Watch their eyes follow you and understand what could not be said. Your home is still there. until you're ready to come back for it. I've been writing this series of poems based on missing persons reports, based on what is being lost over the past 3 months. This first one is case number 0812000. Missing, shame. My mother gave it to me, and I lost it amongst the fire of the sun. It weighed down my kneecaps, worse than heavy cream, whipped and frothed into a kiss, nursed into a knot, daubed against my collarbone where warmth bloomed, and shame chain-smoked impulsively into a cloud, condescended to guilt on its way out. Jewelry worn? Simply 2 drops of sun hanging from its earlobes. This next poem is titled A Place of Extremes. Like the incongruous image of concrete jungles buttressed against sea-worn cliffs, the image of a houseless man holding a reusable tote bag emblazoned with "Every day is a gift." I laid my eyes in the palm of my hand, a sacred offering for you to swallow so you could see me. Pardon the mess, but I'm impulsive for joy, that sweet taste that I only feel once dismembered. Sometimes I can feel you tugging where they tied my threadbare heartstrings to your intestines, but no, it doesn't bring me delight, gladness, or glee. When I imagine you and me, I see a place deeply bathed in warm light where I can afford a house with a window seat and a breakfast nook. We don't need infinite sight to know kindness or kin, but we're still doing our best to file away our sharp edges against the dark silence of an unlit neon sign. I want everything and nothing at all, aching against the ice cubes dropping in my chest. I'll leave you with this last poem, case number 0812003. Missing justice. She left years ago, but everyone pretended she was still here, wearing her robes like they weren't found empty and warm against an unset altar, all our fears crashing down on us. Oh, my dear justice left her blindfold on top. The process of making life invisible while we're unaware of our own need. My name is Jenna Rod. Thank you so much for having me tonight. It's been an honor to be amongst such poets.
Thank you, Jenna Rod. And I apologize for mismanaging your name, but I'll never forget it, and I'll never forget this set. And thank you for remembering those lost. Too many times they go lost without remembrance, and that's one of the jobs of poets to make sure that those who are lost and only have case numbers are respected and eulogized, and that those who we know, the Sandra Blands, the Breonna Taylors, the Latasha Harlins, continue to be remembered. I mean, Latasha Harlins is the reason why I call myself an activist, and I still continue to write about her plight. So thank you again, Jenna Rod. Everybody give it up one more time for Jenna Rod. All right, next up is Tony Robles. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's San Francisco native known as the San Francisco Treat. No, I'm sorry, known as the People's Poet. He is the author of Fingerprints. I think I'm so funny. He's the author of Fingerprints of a Hunger Strike and a collection of protest poetry on police brutality. Tony moved to North Carolina in 2019 and is currently the Carl Sandburg Writer in Residence. Give it up for Tony Robles.
Yeah, thank you, Raymond. I appreciate that. You did make a slight mistake. I'm not the San Francisco treat. I'm actually the San Francisco freak. No, just kidding, just kidding. But anyway, just shouts out to people. Shout out to people in the Bay Area from Frisco, and here in North Carolina. I got a chance to meet Glenis Redmond, the wonderful poet we read together a couple weeks ago. So it's nice to be representing this side out here, Western North Carolina. Anyway, first poem is called Finger on the Greenville Highway. A masked lady in a pickup truck in the middle of a pandemic gives me the finger from behind the wheel before passing in a slash of air. I am unmasked, no one around on the side of the road. I thought that perhaps I was mistaken, that she didn't give me the finger. But I knew deep down that she did. Finger or not, I hope she doesn't get the virus. It continued to poke at me as I headed home, past the redbud trees, serviceberry trees, Japanese maples. It was a finger I'd anticipated, waited for in this part of the world that I am not from. Some trees and plants are considered native, while others are considered invasive. And then I thought of the trips to the markets and shops I made in this place, and the thank yous I'd heard, followed by have a blessed day or just a good one. A finger is a finger. A tree is a tree. A flower is a flower. A thank you is a thank you. A God bless is a God bless. God bless. Okay. So just two more from the San Francisco treat. They say that racism is taught. It is taught. T-A-U-T, taught. Okay? Racism is taught. It sometimes comes with a smile, and it sometimes comes in a blink. It sometimes comes in a wink of eye. It is taught so tight as it covers the skin of eye, taught over your bones. It is so taught, like a tightrope some are forced to walk in a windstorm. It is so taught and so learned, stretching across back roads and dirt roads, highways, main streets, classrooms and boardrooms and outdoor cafes. Trees bear witness in their skin, bruises and lashes, scars that will not remain silent. The tainted fruit forced down our throats. We demand the breath of dignity. We assert our right to live. We declare our right to breathe. Racism is taught. And the last one here is about a brother that I see often on Main Street. And it's probably lived in the area a long time, probably born and raised. And he has a guitar, and he's strumming a guitar on Main Street. And when I walk by, I nod at him, and he nods at me. And I wrote this for him. It's called The Brother with the Guitar on Main Street. And this is the last poem, and thank you for having me. He sits in the same spot, hunched over, a guitar cradled in his arms. He strums a rhythm, thick fingers across water of sound and skin. People walk by, smiles like the moon shedding onion skin. His sound swells inside, the sound of breathing, the heave of mountains. He was here before this was a street. He was here before this street was given a name. He was here before the church bell announced itself. He was here, is still here on Main Street. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I introduced you like that now, because I would have loved to have been the San Francisco Freak. That's
I'm since you did that, I'm hearing the aftershocks of cable car bells. So it's probably going to be with me for a little while, but it's okay, man. It's Frisco,
It's Frisco. I can still be tongue rats. You got to be of a certain age to understand what I mean by that.
I know. Oh man,
I feel like Monty Hall. All right, Redmond is an award-winning poet from Carolina, author of Backbone and Under the Sun, and a Kennedy teaching artist. She is also a dynamic performer of her work and has presented all around the country for both student and adult audiences. Please welcome Glenis Redmond.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be anywhere. This year is stage 3 multiple myeloma. And I want to thank Tony and Aileen for the invite. And I want to say my way of protest, even though I've been doing this work for 28 years, my way of protest is putting back into my grandson, who's 5 years old, taking him bike riding, turn him into a birder. So that's my way of refueling through Black Boy Joy. So I'm going to read 3 poems. And this first one is called Racism Square. Square dances in town squares fill me with an inarticulate fire. How I burn when forced to dance a folk dance, not of my folk. Even at 15, I knew dance was every shape but square. My friends and I dressed in all Black, preferred our routine to boogie nights. We circled the floor with heads and hips, even our backs curved to the beat of bass and drum. Unbeknownst to us, we shimmied in the footsteps of our ancestors. In gym class, for a grade, we were forced to heed the call, swing your partner. And I swung into the center of every Southern town I've ever entered, where the phantom auction block sits, where the color barks bitter, 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 sold. I flinch when fireworks explode. I can't celebrate or abide parades, paper red, white, and blue or Irish green. People drunk stumble to bad beer and music that twangs. There was a time how we were dismembered on these streets. I flash back to whip crap and snap of branches, to another Black man or Black woman hanging half-mast on trees, while white people feast. Overhead, my people swing. Second poem, tough love comes in the dozens. And those of a certain age know what the dozens are. We spit a 12-pack punch in full tilt verbal throttle. We slice the heart with tongue. A sword fight where we battle with banter. We train Cave Canem style, then go off the chain to handle this world in which we were been born. We are passed through a hand-me-down soul train line rites of passage. You better get in where you fit in. It's a ricochet, we got game. As we ping pong, y'all excuse me, that's my mom. As we ping pong off the adrenaline on which we were all raised. Our daddies and brothers carried us to barbershops, basketball courts, and street corners until we were fluent in trash talk and high top fade and fadeaways. We spit insults and throw salt from the sweat in the wound. We say it's all good in the hood, though we know it ain't and never will be. That's why we got game. We invented the crossover layup, slam dunk, and created new ways, came back to show you how to play. Check the kicks and the moves. Our tongue always fit the grooves. We got jokes that always begin, yo mama so black and ugly. When in doubt, always insult the womb they came from, as if we didn't all push off from that dark matter. We're amnesiacs of our own origin story. Don't take it personally or personal. We step up by putting down. Lame-ass lines don't fly. We come from a straight off the dome history. Our metaphors be cooked in cotton fields, fried in the sweat off our ancestors' back. Our tongue lashes are slave narrative driven. You better shoe shine the lines 12 times. Remember your rhythm, son. It's in the hood, the spit and the no, the flow, hood code. Use a pimp or use being pimp. Cruel streets don't take the heed to Gandhi's or Martin Luther King's middle ground. We come from Malcolm X's by any means necessary. We come from where Ali pummeled Lewis. You better butterfly and be stinging with your fancy fist and fight dance. Razzle-dazzle them with your rope-a-dope. Bamboozle them with your verse and stun them with your hip-hop wit. We say it's all good in the hood, though we know it ain't and never will be. Why you think we laughing while we crying? We living in this devil beating this wife reign. Our world be half dozen in one and six in the other. We combine the two and make our truths tap dance even if it hurts. This is our version of tough love. We jab with Jess. We got it like this. Land street fight blows with our mouths. No rules, but each word we speak, we make every syllable count. Last one, because of that tough love stuff, I was always the highly sensitive one, and most poets are. So I wrote this poem just last year, and it's called Make No Apologies for Yourself. Dear you, make no apologies for yourself, because you are covered in a listening skin, because every ache you feel is not your own, because of the lynching tree, because of how many rivers they cross, because of your mother's loss and your father's rage. Because when you enter bookstores, books fall off shelves into your open palms. Because you ask questions of the universe. The world opens before you like a page of text. Because of those clouds and that murder of crows. Because poets are your wounded idols. Because the truth, even if it hurts, it is to be cherished in hell. And just because people die does not mean that they don't walk with you daily. Because the river has a mouth that speaks their names. Because the river flows with stories. Because you sit on the shore and listen. Because alone is more comfortable than together. Because your pen is oceanic. Because you are big-eyed and eyes wide, because you suffer from what you see and hear, because you have sinus arrhythmia and you know your heart is linked to your breath and your breath is short. Because asthma is only one of the monkeys on your back. Because your heart is a vehicle that you chose to ride this go round because it can go forward and backwards at the same time. Because bookstores have always been oracles. Because poetry is your greatest archaeological tool. Because you dig and you dive. Because you plummet even if you cannot swim. Because you trust the ride of journal and journey, even if you don't always float. Because your heart breathes to your breath. Because of this music, you dance raw and wild. Thank you.
That was so powerful. Thank you, Glenis. Thank you so much. Our next reader is my cousin, Jason Clay, who will read one of his mother's poems. The late Reverend Dr. Augustella Clay, my Aunt Stella, was a Philadelphia educator, preacher, author, spoken word artist, and legacy for change. Please welcome her son in her stead, Jason Clay. Erika, would you like to read one of your mom's poems?
Hi, can everybody hear me okay? I think Jason might be on mute, so we might tag team on this. My mother, thank you so much, Aileen, and bringing us back into this fold. We have a really big soft spot for Philadelphia. It's the city that brought our families together through prayer partners that our mothers were and just in greater love. So we're really appreciative to have this opportunity to share. I'm gonna start this and then hopefully Jason's able to come off mute. He can give me kind of a hi sign if he's able to do so. But what we chose to do was a section from my mom's book that she wrote in 2009 called Sojourners of Truth and Justice. We looked at several of her poems and we thought that this really spoke most appropriately to some of her thoughts about what's going on right now. Part of this she wrote, it was a tribute to Sojourner Truth, Susan B. Anthony, Eleanor Roosevelt, and others who she felt were really ahead of their time in terms of considering justice and the steps that people take to really be thoughtful about how we pursue and work against injustice. I'm going to start with a couple of quotes that she had from Sojourner Truth and then move into the epilogue from this book. The first is from Sojourner Truth, I speak the truth about injustice, and truth is powerful and it prevails. The spirit calls me and I must go. And again, I think it'll help to just kind of get into my mother's head. She was quite a thinker, and just the way that she approached this work. So she awakened at sunrise on Independence Day morning 2009, July 4th, and called upon these various thinkers, Sojourner, Susan B., Eleanor, Mary, Ed, Walter, Ann, and Barbara. They were summoned to her at an early hour because their help was needed by her at a moment in time. She called upon them through the annals of time to the table of their universality to really just help summarize thoughts and what it was that sets them apart as parallels in their life journey from the throngs of single notable individuals who had made a significant contributions to history, her story, human rights, civil rights, the arts, literature, etc. Then as she navigated through these various complexities and the responses that converged in her mind's eye like a collage, their voices were harmonious in their unity and balance, yet unintelligible in their diversity. She wanted to know why each of them individually and collectively made such a profound difference and impact on this life journey. The question she asked them, how can we best convey the universal application celebrating your synergy? After channeling these voices of truth and justice, she finally received the following responses with clarity. She then proceeded to document as scribe what and that which they had imparted for her to internalize. First, we are all flawed. In the very act of living our humanity, we are imperfect beings, yet motivated by fierce and audacious hope. Second, we had panoramic vision. The big picture was always more appealing and challenging to us and required greater effort than the narrow tunnel view perspective. Third, when we came to a crossroad because of our gender, race, religion, geography, education, socioeconomic status, injustice encountered, cultural biases, and taboos, we each chose to take the road less traveled. That we believed is what has made the difference. Fourth, we chose to operate outside of the proverbial box. with an ultimate goal, purpose, and direction set before us. We then developed action plans and strategies to achieve and attain seeming ordinary goals in an extraordinary manner. Fifth, we were sustained and maintained by our faith and belief in the ultimate and absolute power of our prime mover. We were convinced that no thing is impossible. When you reach higher than what you think possible, what you can attain will transcend, exceed, and become far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Sixth, even in the midst of global warfare, mental combat zones, economic chaos, financial collapse, crumbling, disintegrating moral ethical fiber, spiritual stagnancy, a need for a new awakening, societal dysfunction, high crime rates, urban blight, blatant injustice, political dishonesty, and bureaucratic imbalances, we continue to move forward with determination, unwavering in the roles and tasks that life had designed for each of us, individually and as parallels to the collective others. Ours is a philosophy of love, trust, compassion, justice, truth, and confluence within the unity we sought. Seventh, we deemed it imperative to reach out, reach down, reach over, to reach behind, to help and give aid to others in achieving their life-given purpose, mission, and passion. Eighth, we chose to celebrate each new day as a dynamic new beginning, a new opportunity for being vehicles of change. We chose to seek becoming even better examples of humanity and agents to facilitate positive nurturing change in ourselves without erecting barriers for others or constructing roadblocks to their progress, discovery, and quest for the improbable vision in the near and distant future. And she ended with a verse from scripture from Habakkuk, book 2, verses 2 through 3. Without a vision, the people perish. If it lingers, wait for it will surely come. Thank you.
Ashe.
Jason, do you want to share something? You're still muted. So, sorry. Erika, thank you so much. That was my cousin Erika. Our final reader for this evening is phenomenal poet, producer, radio show host, and my amazing co-host from Atlantic City, Raymond Tyler. Take it away, Ray.
Yeah, Ray is none of those things. Ray tries. Thank you. I'm so happy to be a part of this, and humbly, if I may, Sunday, 8 o'clock, we have a reading that we do for people who want to express themselves regarding the struggle of ours at 8 p.m. East Coast time. And I welcome any of or all of you. Just contact me and we'll make it happen. And I use excerpts of that for my radio show as well. This is the title poem for my book, I See Something, and it goes like this. I'm willing to admit I may be crazy, because maybe Alex Haley and Roots are not better than urban fiction. But I believe that Paul Robeson should be taught to every Black boy before they even see a ball. I still know that Betty Shabazz and Coretta Scott King did not become ghosts themselves when their husbands were shot, but I'm willing to admit I see things. See things, and closing your eyes will not make the ghost of Emmett Till, Natasha Harlins, Michelle Kuttner, Yummy Sandifer go away. I close my eyes and I still see Yusef Hawkins running for his life, but running too slow. I see death on one side of the playground and your favorite R&B singer with his love letters to little girls on the other. I see things. I see things and I think you see them too, but they will put a love letter in your mailbox at your job, and so you close your eyes and you tell them go score away. You tell them go score away. You tell them go score away, but you see them, I see them. I see something. Something and changing the channel don't bring no real change, because going out in the street and taking somebody with you and telling Washington we don't want to see no more war, that's not on TV. On TV, they will tell you your vote will end war, but even when I voted to end war in the past 3 elections, there is still no peace. I done voted to end the war 3 times now, and I still see more blood than peace. I see something. I see something. I see it with my eyes closed. I see it when I change the channel. They take it out of the history books, but they don't really erase it. And you see it too. Some of you are as crazy as I am, but you chose the colored pill. Some of you just told the man, just give me the Kool-Aid and shut up. Some of you now got your eyes closed. Some of you now wish I would just shut up and stop talking, start writing poems that you want to hear about men and women and black love and rainbows and unity and anything that will cover up what we both know we see. I want to tell you something. 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 I want to tell you that I ain't proof either. I got a family to feed. And they got bullets and nooses and books and credit cards and money for me to shut up and close my eyes too. So most times I won't call it by its right name, but you see it. You know what I mean. A girl reports to the emergency room and the doctor asks her 5 times how this happens. A boy is shot up on his stoop with his back turned and there don't need to be no investigation. The ingredients in your favorite food causes cancers to rats, chimps, and 5-year-olds. Amber alerts here, Amber alerts there. Shatika from Harlem is missing, and they hand her family excuse number 675. You see it. But one day they will either say, I am a prophet, or they will condemn me as a madman. They will no longer be able to afford to say that I am just misguided or simply, quote unquote, seeing things. They will have to acknowledge that Roots is an American classic or an outright fantasy. You will no longer be able to afford to just say, it's not important today, I'll get back to it tomorrow or next week or next month. You will have to deal with this problem today. You will have to read Robeson's biography before you sign your pro contract. Or we will teach our children that Paul Robeson was nothing more than the Bigfoot, the boogeyman, or the Loch Ness Monster. But the day is coming when we will have to choose or dollars, but not both, not both, not both. You cannot always have your cake and eat it too. We will either be ballers or we will be bankers. We will either be revolutionaries or we're going to be slaves. But the day is coming when we won't be able to have it both ways all the damn time. Either we want our daughters to be Coretta Scott's kings or vixens in videos. We will either train our daughters to marry Malcolm X's or marry them off to grown men with Lil as their stage name. All I'm saying is, I see something. I see something. I see something. I see something. See. My name's Raleigh.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you so much. That is truly powerful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening, and special thanks to our incredible poets. To everyone watching us, if you were moved by the power of our poets and if you believe that Black Lives Matter, please buy their books, fund their projects, or consider supporting the movement by donating to progressive, nonprofit Black-led organizations such as the Oakland-based Color of Change. I also would like to remind everyone to please vote in November. Thank you and good night.